200 years ago, Britain stood at the crossroads of history. The year was 1820. King George IV had just ascended the throne. He was a man of elegance, luxury, and scandal, a ruler more in love with art and beauty than with politics. But beneath the glitter of his reign, Britain was trembling with change. Factories roared across the land, signaling the full force of the Industrial Revolution. Cities like Manchester, Birmingham, and London grew crowded with workers seeking hope and finding hardship. The gap between rich and poor widened, and a new working class was born. Yet amid all this, religion and morality became the nation's soul. The Church of England still held power, but waves of new Christian movements were rising. The Methodists, inspired by John Wesley's earlier preaching, brought fire and compassion to the poor. The evangelical movement spread through Britain, calling for moral reform, charity, and abolition of slavery. King George IV himself was no saint. He lived lavishly, threw extravagant balls, and was deeply unpopular with the public. But under his rule, the idea of moral responsibility began to shift from the crown to the people. Reformers, writers, and preachers began asking dangerous questions. Should Parliament represent only the rich? Should Catholics and dissenters have religious freedom? Should Britain's moral strength be measured by its churches or its conscience? In 1829, one man would answer. Sir Robert Peel, Home Secretary, passed the Catholic Emancipation Act, granting rights to Roman Catholics after centuries of discrimination. This act divided Britain but also reshaped its sense of justice and faith. Meanwhile, the Oxford movement quietly began stirring in universities. Young Anglican scholars, like John Henry Newman and Edward Pusey, sought to revive the spiritual roots of the Church, blending faith with intellect. By the time King George IV died in 1830, Britain had changed forever. The monarchy's divine aura faded, religion had been redefined, and the moral direction of the empire shifted, from palace halls to the hearts of ordinary men and women. It was the dawn of modern Britain, born out of faith, reform, and restless conscience. Follow for more.